Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 26th Daily Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm Thad from the support team. I'm going to be hosting today's Lunch and Learn. We don't have any pre-submitted questions today, so I'll just wait on some more. Oh, looks like we do have an attendee. Hey there, Brent. Good afternoon. Um, yeah, so we'll just wait on if we've got anybody else coming in. Brent, if you had any questions, if you wanted to ask in the chat or raise your hand, I can take you off mute and we can talk through. Yeah, sweet.
What's up, Thad? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. How's it going, Brent?
Sweet, pretty good.
Good, glad to hear it.
So I'm trying to, so I have a data repeater in
Okay,
my form. And so with the data repeater, so what I'm trying to accomplish is, so um, I work at a law firm and the attorneys need to get pre-approval um, to buy stocks.
okay,
So in my form, I have a data repeater, and when they type in the ticker, I want the other text box to show the company, the securities name.
okay.
So I'm trying to implement that. I've been in a loop on trying to figure it out. I just can't seem to can't seem to come up with a solution.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely look at that. And to clarify, by ticker, that's like the symbol that gets
Yes.
in the stock. Okay. Okay, so it's sort of like an autocomplete functionality, I guess, or like you'll have maybe like a lookup table of tickers that it'll convert into the full company name.
So I have an API set up
Okay,
to market stack. I think that's what it's called.
got it. And so it'll just you want to have them enter the name, the ticker symbol, and then send that ticker symbol off um to your API, and then get the company name returned from there.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we can probably do something like um. So where are you so far in that process, I guess, to kind of clarify what's the pain point? Or are you just kind of high level trying to figure out how you can accomplish this?
Yeah, I'm just really trying to figure out how I'm going to accomplish it. I've been trying to figure it out, but I can't solve it. I can't figure it out at all.
Okay. Yeah,
I
so
have
we
the
can
form created and everything. Everything's created, and
Yeah, let me see if I can just, so I guess first I want a form here. So we have just like a form with just a data repeater, not a mixed type repeater or anything, just a regular data repeater there. So we can add that to a form here. I'm not gonna mess too much with the formatting, and I can create a new source here. Yeah, and I guess we can just have a couple of text boxes. We would have like ticker here, name, right? And we could save these for now. And I'll need to set the input type for this as well. Right, so we have the selection type. And I believe I have to set the input data type here too. Properties. So probably what we need to do here, so we wanna type the ticker name into a box, and then in the next box you want the company name to just be populated. Is that right? Like we're not.
yeah, populated, but also like they can add more like trades if they need to. So I had a ad repeater, the data repeater ad to add
Okay,
to a row.
got it.
So if they have multiple,
Okay, so we have a list of multiple different tickers here that we can add, so the user can add as many tickers as they want, and then for each
yep,
one the company name gets populated.
yep.
Yeah, so I think probably what we would do here, let me create an active form flow. I think would be the best way to do this. If we have a data repeater, let's see. Right. Create an active form flow. Call it ticker conversion. A good way to say that. And then have it trigger on data repeater value changed. I think we could have it trigger there so that anytime your user adds data to a field here, it gets changed. And we can say it's blocking, right, and create an active form flow. And since I don't have access to the API you're using, I can't do like a full mock-up here.
That's fine.
But I think what we'd want to do is we'd want to go for each. We want to make the input of this. I believe I can get the data repeater input, right? We have data repeater, validation issues.
Yeah, that's where I get stuck.
Item
It's like the
source, yeah.
selected.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Maybe I think instead of using selected, an approach we could use here is to use all of the item source, I believe, gives a list of everything that's part of the data repeater, I believe. Here, let's see. And I can test this if we actually go back to the repeater. Let's map these in for now. I'm not going to make any changes. Let me just drag this over. Just duplicate a tab so I can edit multiple things at once here. You've got the repeater control. Right, yep. Got the repeater control here, and let me get the form up as well. It's with the form, the active form flow, we have the repeater control. Oh, there's nothing here, it doesn't look saved. That's gonna cause problems. That's fine though. We put the repeater back here. Yep. 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 And if we have come back here. So I guess yeah, the idea is we have this source, right? And it's just telling us this isn't valid because I haven't selected this type. So let me just select this type quickly. Just a moment. Thanks for bearing with me as I kind of slog through some of this design stuff. I haven't touched the forms area of the product a ton recently, so just refreshing my memory here. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Just trying to figure out how to add this. So I believe, yeah, okay, here it is. Form data input type, and I'm just going to use a dummy type here, like account. And of course, there are lots of accounts on this environment. We can just use this type here. We can call this account set. We can call this, and I'm just picking dummy examples of this type so that we can actually use them here. But so now if we want to iterate over this, let me clear this out, and I should probably save this control now so that the active form flow gets the right mapping. And I'm just going to save this, close it, and reopen it just in case changing that affected anything. So we're looking through, if I map back into collection, we have form data, data repeater, an item source. Let's see. Does that give us anything here? Um, yeah, this is I think I see where you're running into the problem, this decision of what we're iterating over for the ticker symbol to loop through.
Mhm.
So I think a good start would probably be first just write up a flow that converts given like static input and output with the API call that confirms that like, hey, you know, we can convert from the ticker symbol to the company name output without issue. Um, and then from there, try implementing that in an active form flow on like a static form with text boxes. And then I think from there, you know, have your data repeater example. See if you can adapt that active form flow to iterate through each item and output the company name. Um,
Mhm.
and then if not, because this is kind of use case specific depending on the API, whether or not the active form flow is going to work, I think you can open a support ticket with our support@decisions.com account. Um, we should be able to assist you further there. Sorry, I don't have an exact answer for your use case here, but I think it is pretty dependent on, given that we have to call an API for each member of the data repeater, there's some particulars there that I think would just best be worked out over like a screen share session with a support member.
Okay. All right. It's all good.
All right, cool. Thanks for your question, Brent. Appreciate it.
No problem.
And then, okay, it looks like we have a question from Brian. Hey, Brian. Okay, yeah. So can we convert from SQL blobs to a PDF? Check on this for you. Let's see. And then it's just refreshing my memory. So a SQL blob is just a large binary object, I think, right? Like it's that just contains a lot of binary. So I guess if you're storing the PDF as a file, um, or you're storing the file data of the PDF just serialized in binary in SQL, and I believe we should be able to do that. So let me just, sorry, consult the question again. Read blobs from SQL and convert to a PDF. So I think it depends on the format of your of the blob in the SQL database. Like if it's already, you know, natively like a PDF file binary, then yeah, we can convert that. Basically we would use let me look at some of our file steps. It would give an example of like what we can do here. Oh, and let me not do it in this flow. Here, I'll just create a new sample sandbox flow for us here. And then we can have a load probably isn't going to be great. We can do like file. There should be like a load file step here. Let's see. On that loads from a file path. Might be best to just do wonder if we can just do a form with an upload component might be better. Yeah. But yeah, in short, Decisions has a native file data type that allows you to supply binary file data directly as an input within the flow. So if you can just get that binary data into the flow, whether you're having in this simple case that I'm about to do, we would have users uploading that. But in your case with a SQL blob, that would come straight from SQL. So you do something like a define query step or a raw SQL step to fetch the binary data in. Um, if my understanding of that blob SQL blob type, that binary large object type is correct, and we can just pass that binary directly into the file data portion of a step that uses a file, and it should work. So let me create just a simple upload form so that we can get a sense of how this works exactly. And I'm glad this component is favorited, so we can call this uploaded file and drag a button here. Cool. And I'm just going to save this. And let me just confirm that this works. Yep. Okay. And it has a select a file. And we'd select a file from the file system. That's good. And then maybe later on, I think we have a save file step that would take in the file data here. Let's see. May not have, might be called write file. Oh, we could do something like zip file might work. I basically just, the step doesn't matter. I just want to prove to you that we can interact with this file data. Here we go. And I'll have, so we have a list of files to include here. This will like zip some files, and I'll call this zipped. Yep. Okay, we can drag this. And let me just create a text document quickly that we can use as an example to upload here. Here we go. Okay, yep, this should be good. So we have an upload form, this zips files, and I will have this array get its input from the file that we uploaded, and specifically the file contents, which is just a byte array. So it's just serialized binary. So inputting that should be sufficient here. Which SQL step would we use? So that would be dependent on your use case. I'm not completely sure. Let's see. Oh, and this wants file data directly, pardon me. So we'll just do yeah, so that'll depend on your use case. I'm not sure if you guys are this SQL blob is coming directly from the database, or like if it's already been prefetched somewhere. If it hasn't, then you'll probably do raw SQL is used for like ad hoc queries against a database that you've already connected. But then we also have defined query steps. Let me show you the raw SQL step first. So very simple. All it does is it takes in a text SQL command, and you can specify this. Like the easiest ways with this merge plain text option. And if you want to do, as an example, select all from a default decisions table is entity folder. Right, we could run that. Let me just show you what happens if we run this quickly. But it just outputs the results of the SQL query. And it's got a path if the query failed for syntax reasons or connection reasons, whatever, any normal reason that a SQL query could fail, right? So if we look at the output of this, oh, right, I don't have a return type specified. So, right, output settings, return data, and then now we should see the results. This is going to take, I was going to say just a bit of time. This is going to take a while to load. But you'll see that we're outputting direct output from the results of this database query, basically. So if we wanted to, I don't know that we have any types on the system right now that are using blobs, and I don't have database like backend access, unfortunately. Yeah, and I was gonna say the results for this query are very large, and I probably should have added a limit. I'm just going to close this browser tab. Yeah, I definitely could have picked a better folder than entity folder, which is just every folder on the environment. But regardless, that raw SQL step can be used to run a query directly against the database. Another alternative, if you're running the same query repeatedly, would be to use of course, this is unresponsive too. That's unfortunate. I think my browser just choked. It sure did. Perfect. Here we go. Just pause this quickly. Okay, here we go. Yep. So a raw SQL step is one step that we can use there. Another thing we can do is a defined query step. So I can show you in system, integrations, databases. We have all these different databases. I'm not going to look at any of the details for these because some of these are internal tests, but I think a good one would be, see, I believe one of these I've created, so it should be fine to show. Yeah. So as an example, got this So we have different options for the database integration. Let me check where we run these queries. This environment is being pretty slow. Apologies. I can also put our documentation page for define queries in the chat here. Let's see, add query. Here we go. This looks like, yeah, these look like query definitions. So we can just basically we define a query and you can look at the contents of the query, the connection that it uses, and they have, you put your query in, you have parameters here and the output. So a couple of ways that you could fetch that data. You can either use a define query step, or you could use a raw SQL step. Define query for reusability in general, like project compactness, I guess, is better to use. But so you'll use one of those two steps to fetch in the SQL blob. And this is saying, here we go, if this will load. Once that's fetched in, that's what this file upload form is doing instead. I don't have access to a database that has any blobs saved that I know of, and I can't quickly change that from inside of decisions. That would be on your database admin side. So I've got this file upload form that gets us file data. So I guess long-winded explanation, all that to say, we have steps that act on this file data type that ends up just being serialized binary. If for whatever reason your step takes like something other than file data, like it just takes in a list of bytes, we can actually you see this part of this uploaded file. Probably the best place to show this is the input mapping editor. This file data type contains a lot of different types inside of it. One of those is just the raw contents, which is just an array of bytes. So that can be passed to any step that's expecting, like just pure serialized binary. So if I actually map this in, map the file data in, let me create an item to map in here. And then I can save this flow and debug it. And it gives us an option to upload a file. I'm just going to go ahead and upload let me find a small text file from my system. Being on the support team, I have tons of logs that I have as well. So trying not to find something huge. Here, this is good. This is from an installer. It should be pretty light. And we upload this. Right, and we can see, and I don't have a form to display this to the user here, but we can see that this step takes in this file data, this installer setup.xml, and you see it has the length here. What it also took in is the serialized binary, and then it outputs a zipped file for us. So we do have steps that should work with the SQL blobs. In theory, I don't know if we've seen a use case for that from a customer yet, but if the blob type is just serialized binary data, then it's absolutely possible to read it in. And if the blob is already in PDF format, then there's no need to do any conversion. It should be recognized as a PDF automatically. If you wanted to do something like, I guess it really depends on your use case, what you're doing afterward, whether you're just saving that file off, whether you want a user to be able to download it, or if it's, being sent in an email. So if you have any other questions about the use case, I'm happy to answer them. It looks like we don't have any other pre-submitted questions at this time. Or if you want to take these steps and try to play with them, and then if you have any questions, either come back to a lunch and learn or submit a support ticket. That definitely works as well. Just wanted to be here to clarify if any of that was unclear. Oh, okay, so we're using a form document viewer. So I can try to set up a kind of a simple case that will show that we can do that. Let me grab another show form step here. Cool. Create this. Let me find a document viewer form control here. Awesome. Yep. So yeah, so we can have, depending on whether we're inputting a document, I would probably just have this be file data, and then we can do. Great. We don't need any URL parameters. Default page number is 0. Here, let me see if I have a PDF saved quickly, and if not, I can just download one. So that'll be easiest to view. Let's see here. Because I have plenty of PDFs locally, but they all contain like customer information, so I definitely don't want to display any of that here. Here, I'll just go online and find a sample PDF that we can demonstrate this with. Perfect. Here's a dummy PDF file. Just download this. Dummy.pdf. Awesome. Okay, great. So this will be a document viewer. We've got a button here. Yep. And we'll put that here. You can save this. Yeah, so I guess what we're looking at now is just a two-step process of this upload step, in your case, Brian, would be whatever process you're using to fetch in the SQL blobs, probably a defined query step against I don't know if it's like an Oracle database or what kind of database is storing those blobs, but a query against that external database that will pull the blob in, pull it in as serialized binary data specifically, and then we can pass that file data to our document viewer form. So let me input that here. So we have this output from uploaded file. We can just pass it straight to this file to view here. Now, if it's a fetch from a SQL blob in a database, we may not have like a complete file data output. And so what you would have to do is, in the case of, got this here, probably what you're looking at instead of a complete file data output is you're just looking at a byte array. It may not be called contents, but just an array of bytes, which is serialized binary. So instead of, you won't have this whole file data output type here to map into the input for the document viewer. You would do like a build data on the input to this document viewer file to view. And then we could ignore all of this. I think ID and tag we can safely ignore, but file name, you would call this whatever you want it to be called. So you might have some logic in the flow that prepends some kind of ID, like a sequence of numbers. But I can just call this dummy.pdf. And then the important thing here is for the contents, we would map those from wherever they were fetched from. So in our case, it was uploaded and it's already uploaded as file data. So this is redundant. But in a case where you have a SQL blob, that might just be coming in only as serialized binary as this, byte array, then this is relevant, mapping this byte array directly into the byte array of the file to view and using this build data input type here. So let me save that off and confirm that this all displays correctly. All right, so we get an upload form. I'm going to upload a PDF. Here we go. Perfect. And hit OK. And I hit our button. There we go. And there's our dummy PDF file. And the document viewer is small just because I didn't mess with any of the syntax, but this is the PDF file. And this is basically how you would go about mapping in that binary data there. I hope this answered the question. I'm sorry I don't have like a live database with any of these blob types to play around with. Let me just look into, maybe that's something I can create myself right now to demo. I will check. Yeah, I don't know that there's any way for me to create a field of that type in like a decisions database. I would need access to some of these external databases we have connected, which I don't directly, unfortunately. One thing I am seeing about more information about blob is it looks like the contents can be stored in either character or binary format. For this approach that I outlined here to work, I think we would need that data to be saved in binary format, right? Because otherwise we're not going to be able to pass that binary array into the contents of our file to view. But as long as it's in binary format, then we can just pass it in directly to this contents input value, and then we can supply whatever file name we want. And then from there, we should be able to view it just fine. Yeah, of course, happy to help. And if you do have any other, questions or encounter any roadblocks in getting this implemented, then absolutely, I would say either bring it to another lunch and learn, or if the problem is um, specific enough or technical enough in scope, then definitely submit a support ticket, and we'd be happy to look at it as well. But yeah, I hope this answers at least top level how we would implement something like this. Okay. It looks like a pretty quiet day. We're at 12:30. And I don't think we've had any new questions. So if there aren't any more questions at this time, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off. No announcements on the slides. However, I did see, I think as recently as today, we did upload our V9 beta to our public releases site. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check it out. If you're on containers, then I think the container image will be published to our Docker Hub tomorrow to be pulled. But no new announcements other than that. So yeah, I hope it was informative, and hope you have a great day, and hope to see you at the next one. Take care.
Thanks, Dad.
Yep, no problem. Bye.